Another huge rally. Thank you, Joe. Turning now to politics, despite his big lead in the polls, the Wall Street Journal's Gerald Seib penning an article titled "How Donald Trump May Benefit Some Other Republican Contenders." Seib writing, quote, "Chances are high that eventually the Donald phenomenon will increase voters' appreciation for serious candidates with serious things to say." And while Carly Fiorina and Marco Rubio are being propped up by traditional media, according to my next guest, Donald Trump's social dominance is what has put him undoubtedly in the lead. Joining us right now is former strategic advisor to Hillary Clinton and Edelman Berland CEO Mike Berland. Also with us is former Reagan and Bush 43 fundraiser Bruce Blakeman. Bruce, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm glad they didn't name the bunny after me.
Oh, God, yeah. It's Bruce.
Bruce.
Michael, good to see you.
How are you, man?
Thank you so much for joining us. So you've got new data for us.
We do.
Let's see it.
We all know who did well on Thursday, but do we know why? So I spent the weekend actually dial testing, using one of my corporate tools to actually look at the performances of each of the candidates to pinpoint that exact moment in the debate that the ratings started to go up. And I'd like to share that with you. So I talked to Democrats, I talked to independents, and I talked to Republicans. And let's watch the tape. Here's Marco Rubio.
If I'm our nominee, how is Hillary Clinton going to lecture me about living paycheck to paycheck? I was raised paycheck to paycheck.
That his numbers go straight up because all of a sudden he's becoming relatable. We've all lived paycheck to paycheck. We know what it is. So he's not talking about something theoretical. He's talking about something real. And all of a sudden Marco Rubio as a candidate becomes something that they can understand. What was Carly's best moment in the debate? We hear a lot about it. We know not many people watched. She was on the pre-card, yet she's won the debate.
Yeah, 7-8 million people watched, but...
Okay, but
wasn't 24 million.
What was her best
but it
moment?
Was 7.
We all watched. Do we know?
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, I do.
It's when she talked about being a secretary and basically rising to the CEO job.
Right. Exactly.
Let's look at the tape.
I started as a secretary and became ultimately the chief executive of the largest technology company in the world.
Dagen, exactly right. Because here she was no longer frosty, corporate executive out of touch with America. She was telling her American dream story.
Right.
And that really works with Americans.
That resonated because it was a story of someone that came from nothing and could rise to the top of the company, a global company.
Exactly.
It's very powerful.
So now we have two candidates, right? We have Rubio, who's now saying he's lived paycheck to paycheck. We have Fiorina, who's now saying she's lived the American dream. And we can see this connection. Republicans are becoming human.
This is a different theme than we've seen before in the GOP, Bruce.
Well, I think basically we also have to talk about the connection that Trump's making, because he relishes the role as being the villain, and people actually like that. There's somebody who's actually talking about things that they're frustrated about. So he's really tapping into that frustration. And the interesting thing is, I don't believe he's hurting himself that much with women. I've talked to professional women who say Donald Trump is saying the things that we want him to say, and we actually think he's the only one who would do something about the problems in America.
But
Can I say what the common denominator I see in all three of these examples of Borio, Fiorini, and Trump? Everything that resonated with people was anti-establishment. I think that's a big theme in this election. People are fed up, not only with the establishment of Washington, but the establishments of Wall Street, the establishments of the media. Donald Trump went after the media in this election.
Let's look at some data, because I want to show you Trump's best moment. And I think Bruce is going to like what he sees here. Let's look at his quote, and I'm going to show you divergent lines.
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct.
There's a green line and a blue line.
Yeah.
The red line was Republicans. As soon as he said, I don't have time to be PC, the red line goes up. The green line goes up. The blue line, the Democrats, go down. Trump is speaking for a movement. He's reflecting this, and we're seeing voters move with him.
I have a question.
Okay.
But at what point, if any, do people in this country get tired of the name calling? Does that even happen? Is there any time in history in a presidential election this early where we've seen this going on? Because again, Marco Rubio resonates, Carly resonates, and then Donald Trump. But it's more broad strokes. When do they have to get to the issues?
I think we're seeing frustration really bubble up. And here's what's happening. This has now become a traditional versus social media war, which Donald Trump is winning 66-0.
But do people get tired of the name calling? Because you were talking about women.
I think they're going to get tired of it at some point, and I do think it's going to prop up the traditional candidates. But the danger that Walker and Bush have is that they actually seem stiff and plastic, and they're not connecting. So they are in danger of letting Kasich and Rubio start to move up, and even Huckabee.
Anyone associated with the establishment, including Hillary Clinton, I think has got a big mountain to climb in this, because people are sick and tired of the establishment.
Let me show you my bottom line. Let me show you this last chart, which is going to blow you away, which is I'm going to show you to the extent that Trump is dominating this conversation. It could end at some point, but we have a lot of runway left. We have 16 months here where Mr. Trump has got such a
So what are we looking
dominance.
at now, Michael?
I don't know, is it come up? But basically, if you take all of the coverage that Rubio and Fiorina have together, it's 1/65th of the coverage that Trump is receiving. Round one to Trump.
As a GOP supporter and fundraiser, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm actually concerned about Trump. I understand why he's doing well. I think that the more people hear about Kasich, the more people hear about Rubio, the more people that hear about Huckabee, who's the passionate conservative, but he seems like a reasonable guy, I think the better that they'll do. I think Walker's got to be a little more animated. I think Bush needs to be a little more animated.
Yeah.
But the one thing Trump has done, he's brought 25 million viewers to the debate. And in that case, he's done a favor to the Republican Party, because a lot of people who wouldn't be watching are now watching.
But if he goes independent, he's creating a real problem for the Republicans.
That's a huge problem.
Wouldn't you rather be a kingmaker, threaten independence, and then make a decision about who gets the final nod?
And also, not necessarily. Our data last week showed that Trump is going to peel off Democrats. There are vulnerable Southern white Democrats who like his independent message.
I've definitely heard
so
that.
I'm not saying this story hasn't written itself out. We have not seen a candidacy.
So we're going to
like
see
Donald
more
Trump.
of those photos of Hillary and Bill at the wedding.
I'm saying if I'm a Democrat, I'm not so happy just to let him go, because he's going to take some of my voters. And we know that there's 14 states that matter, and he could play a role in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's the Clinton conspiracy theory, too, that they put him up to running in order to make trouble in the Republican Party and eventually maybe run independent. I don't think that's the case. I think he's out there having fun. He wanted to see how far this would go, and I think he's even surprised himself.
Yeah. I think that's right. Mike Berland, Bruce Blakeman, good to have you both on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. We'll see you soon. Up next.